Ooh, sorry about that. That's pretty loud. I'll turn that down. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's September 19th, 2025. We're glad you're with us this morning. Please note this event is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. In 2007, I started facilitating and leading this North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. In 2008, I started a website, careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It's available on Amazon, or I have copies with me in person. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIC Crew. You'll hear more about them in just a few minutes. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories, job leads if we have any recruiters online, have everybody do their 30-second introductions. Then we'll hear from the Interview Success Workshop, the practice interview team, and the career tip of the week. And then our main event about the top of the hour. Well, we'd like to start off with good news, success stories. Do we have any landings to announce? Any landings to announce? All right, we'll go on. We'd like to ask everybody who's online right now, open up your chat window and in the chat box, enter your name, the position you're looking for, give us your email, your LinkedIn address, phone number, city you're watching from. Give us 2 or 3 target companies that we may be able to help you with. And then if you have companies where you have connections, please let us know where those are. So in case it's something that somebody else is out looking for. So I'll put 30 seconds in the clock and I'll let you get started typing. All right, keep typing, please. Keep putting information in, and we'll get those passed out for everybody. All right, for what you want to do now is give everybody a chance here in person to do their 30-second introductions. So if people want to just jump up, grab the mic, and give us your 30-second introductions.
Hey everyone, my name is Alan Dunn.
Yeah, turn on the mic.
For time. Hey everyone, my name is Alan Dunn. I'm looking for a career in analytics, business operations data. I've been developing data analytic projects with programs like SQL, Tableau, Excel, Python, and I have contacts at a few companies, I guess Home Depot, University of Texas at Dallas. I need contacts at primarily targeting healthcare data analytics. So UT Southwestern, Baylor, any hospitals, Stryker, also very interested in medical devices. And my name is Alan Dunn.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is William McLaughlin, currently seeking a data analyst role and currently target companies currently are Cinemark and Dave & Buster's, and my name is William McLaughlin. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aileen Schutz, and I'm looking for a job as a replenishment buyer or inventory manager. I need contacts at Columbia Safety and Supply, and I have connections at a lot of retailers and wholesalers, including Michael's, 7-Eleven, and Cormark. And again, my name is Aileen Schutz.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tim Farrell. I'm an electrical design verification engineer. I need contacts at JMA Wireless, Skyworks Solutions, and ISEE Incorporated. I have contacts at Raytheon, and my name is Tim Farrell.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michael Garber. I'm looking for a position as an IT program manager. Let's see, no new target companies this week. I have contacts at Kyndryl and IBM. My name is Michael Garber.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Brett Cooper, a physician, leader, and educator. This week, I'm looking for contacts at Blue Cross Blue Shield or the parent company HCSC. And my name's Brett Cooper.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Penn Hoyt. That's like what you write with an extra N. I'm a B2B marketing executive, director of marketing, B2B space. Looking right now for a contact at Vizient, and I've got contacts in a variety of industries. Check me out on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to connect with you. Again, Penn Hoyt.
All right. Anybody else? I think we got everybody here. All right. If everybody online, if you will, please raise your hand. That way I only ask, I won't accidentally call on you 2, 3, or 4 times. And James, I'll let you go first.
Good morning. My name is James Pence. I'm a CRM, client relationship manager, or client success. No, it's titled differently in different industries, but I'm looking to hopefully continue that role in any industry. My target companies I've been trying to look into, if anybody has any connections, are Epsilon, Tyler Technologies, or Gartner. Unfortunately, I don't have any connections to assist with, but again, my name is James Pence. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki Duncan.
Good morning. I'm Nikki Duncan. I am an operations specialist looking for remote work as a chief of staff, director of operations type thing. I don't have any target companies this week, but I have a diverse network. I don't even know who all's in it. So if you see anybody you want, ping me and I will be happy to make an introduction. Nikki Duncan.
Thank you. Lincoln Turner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Hello, my name is Lincoln Turner. I'm looking for positions as a theater substitute teacher or instructional designer or even a box office assistant at a theater. And I'm looking for I need contacts at any DISD schools, specifically Booker T. Washington, as well as any local Dallas companies that might need some ID work. And also at Broadway Dallas or AT&T Performing Arts Center or even the Dallas Symphony, the Dallas Hall Orchestra. I can't remember the exact name of it right now. And I don't have any contacts at this time. Again, my name is Lincoln Turner.
Thank you. Scott.
Good morning, everybody. Scott Pedro, Certified Planning Inventory Management. Looking for a supply chain job in central New Jersey or remotely, specializing in inventory control or production planning. I don't have any target companies as of yet. I'm mostly wanting small local companies, but that's all. My name is Scott Pedro.
Scott, be sure to put your email address in the chat window because I think it bounced last week and you probably didn't get an email. If you'll do that.
I think I got the email, but yeah, it's already in there.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mark Jermansky.
Yes, my name is Mark Jermansky. I'm a senior technical writer looking for remote technical writing positions. I have contacts at Motorola Solutions. Again, my name is Mark Jermansky.
Thank you. Elizabeth Hunter.
Good day, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Hunter, a global human resources leader seeking fractional, interim, contract, or project work. I am happy to be here. I have connections at Sabre Corporation in Southlake, and I don't have any target companies this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Wilk.
Good morning. My name is Michael Wilk. I'm looking for a senior or lead quality engineer or quality manager position. I have extensive experience in aerospace and defense. My target companies include Boeing, SNC, TI, Raytheon, and Encore. I have contacts at L3 Harris and Raytheon. I'm a veteran with a clearance. My name is Michael Wilk.
Thank you. Kathleen McGregor.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. My name is Kathleen McGregor, and I'm looking for a paralegal or legal assistant position in a corporate setting or law firm. I don't have any target companies this week, but I do have a lot of connections in the banking industry. So if anybody's looking for positions in banking, you can look at my connections. And again, my name is Kathleen McGregor.
Thank you. Tracy Harris.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Harris. I'm a senior search consultant at Thomas Edwards Group or senior recruiter at Thomas Edwards Group. Many of you have seen our name a lot of different places, probably met some of us at other networking groups as well. But yeah, happy to be here. Tracy Harris.
Thank you. Kelsey Wise.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelsey Wise. I am looking for roles in communications and events as a coordinator. I am looking for contacts at Kendra Scott or at T-Mobile, and I have contacts at FedEx Office and at Peak 6. Again, my name is Kelsey Wise.
Thank you. Let's see here. Janine McFarland.
It's Jean McFarland. Good morning, everybody. I'm looking for a program manager or engineering director or manager role. I spent most of my career in aerospace and defense. My target company for this week is Celestica, and I have contacts at Raytheon, Airbus, Defense and Space and Government Solutions, as well as Lockheed. And I would love to connect with you. Again, my name is Jean McFarland.
Thank you. Rosina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosina Gallman, and I am your Career Tip of the Week host. So I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm looking for a position as a senior talent acquisition partner, senior recruiter, or senior corporate recruiter position. I need contacts at TIAA and T-Mobile, and I have contacts at a variety of different places. So as we connect, take a look at my contacts. Again, my name is Rosina Gallman, senior talent acquisition partner, senior recruiter, or senior corporate recruiter. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Catherine.
I gotta assume it's me.
Yes.
Hi, good morning. My name is Catherine Lay, and I am looking for a management role in supply chain and logistics, like senior manager or directors of logistics or process management or project management. I don't have any contact. I don't have any target companies this week, but I have contacts at various different industries through my LinkedIn too. So if you need any contact, just contact me. Again, my name is Catherine Lay.
Great. Anybody else online we've missed?
Jeff, it's Matthew. I got in late. I'm sorry about that. My name is Matthew Bianchin. I am seeking a role as a business development director. I do have contacts at Pepsi. I do have contacts at Aramark. I do not have a target company this week. My name is Matthew Bianchin.
Thank you. Anybody else online?
Here I am, Michelle.
Okay, Michelle.
Hello, everybody, guys. This is Michelle Huck. I have extensive years in accounts receivable, cash posting, applications. I'm 20 years out on doing my accounts payable. I'm finding a hard time to get back into that. Anyhow, my target company is CVS still. That I'd like to go back into pharmacy distribution. Apparently, healthcare is not a good field right now. So anyhow, anybody's got any help that I can get inside the CVS up there at Irving, I'd appreciate it. This is Michelle Hawk.
Thank you. Anybody else online? All right, I know we have a couple of people who came in a little late. If you want to come on up and grab the mic, I'll let you do it here.
Hey, my name is Miguel Castillo. Looking for a VP or Director of Finance, mostly in the financial planning and analysis space. Need contacts this week at Eaton and Flowserve, and I have contacts at Amazon and American Airlines. My name is Miguel Castillo.
Thank you.
Morning, I'm Stephen Sulkin. I'm a Director of Operational Excellence, and I'm looking for contacts at Methodist Health, and I have contacts at Baylor Scott & White. I'm Stephen Sulkin.
Thank you.
And also for Lincoln Turner, connect with Jason Millwright. Jason Millwright, Millwirght.
Hi, good morning. My name is Becca Alexander. I'm a business transformation leader, and I have contacts at PepsiCo, but I don't have any targets for this week. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Belzil. So I'm looking for a Director of Product Management role focused on data and analytics. I'm seeking contacts at Keurig Dr. Pepper, USAA, or Amazon Web Services. So I have contacts at Walmart, Epsilon, or Circana. So my name is Mike Belzil.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I think we got everybody. Let's see here. Tracy, tell us what's new at with your organization.
Yeah, we actually got a few in yesterday. We've got a senior financial analyst role that's 100% remote. Super rare that we see those remote roles. But targeting is, corporate FP&A experience with the budgeting and forecasting. Received a bunch of high-level roles from one organization due to growth. So we've got a VP of ERP and business applications. We've got a VP of finance, an SVP of strategy, a CAO, and a chief of staff. So those are some newer ones. We've got a payroll specialist on the Fort Worth side, and a director of operational finance contract role. So those are a few that we just got this week. So
And people can just reach out to you directly, right?
yeah, you can just reach out to me. I will say I did hear someone looking for a chief of staff. This one is 100% on site. So that's something that's important to them. But yeah, if you're interested in any of these roles, you can reach out to me directly.
All right, Tracy, thank you for being with us today. All right, time to hear from the Interview Success Workshop.
Well, good morning, everyone. I get to be on TV and live, so I can look at both of you at the same time today. Let me unmute get my video on. Great. So I never did like having, when I was talking, somebody's looking behind me, and so it's either the group that's here or the group that's online. So today I'm enjoying being in front of everybody. All right, my name is Walt Glass. I'm a retired IT guy. I may as well confess, it's about 40 years worth of service in IT, starting with paper tape and punch cards. If any of you are old enough to remember that or know what a sorter is or a card punch or IBM 514 reproducer, those kind of machines, EAM equipment, et cetera. So anyway, since I retired, I said, what am I going to do with my life now? And I remembered that back in 2000, when I was downsized with 25 years of service, I really screwed up an interview. So I got into interviewing and understanding how to do that well. And so now I volunteer to help people with interviewing skills. One of the things that I do with this is called the Interview Success Workshop. It's online. My About section on LinkedIn gives you all the details about it. You can see all the information there, how to register. You must be registered to attend. I do have a queue, but it's online. You interview each other. I give you the basic questions out of the basic 12 categories of questions so that you can ask each other. I'll take notes, then we'll discuss. And we're looking to see how can we sell ourselves in an interview as defined by 3 parameters: who we are, what we do, and how we help. So if that sounds right to you and you agree that that is what we're selling and you'd like to get on board with how to do that, then the workshop is designed for you. So my Yahoo email address is on my banner page, as well as my phone number to reach me to sign up and register for the workshop. Be glad to have you participate. It is very informal. It is not a mock interview. Why don't we have some fun while we're learning? So I call it learning without squirming. I would love to be the wind beneath your wings as I help you with interviewing things. And if you ask what price that brings, it really is free with no attached strings. I am Walt Glass.
Thank you very much. All right, the practice interview team, I'll talk about it for a second. They meet on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month. They meet here in this room here at Christ United Methodist Church. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, which next week happens to be the fourth Wednesday, they will be online, so you will be able to watch them from wherever you're at. Just follow the Zoom link to get to them. Last 2 months, they've had 70 people watching. 3 different people being interviewed. So this is a great opportunity to watch somebody interviewed. As they like to say, practice early, practice often. Don't wait until you have a real interview. Step up, watch it, because you will learn just by watching other people interviewed. You'll learn valuable tools that you'll be able to carry on. So for more information, you can just email your resume and a job description to dallaspitcrew.com@gmail.com, or if you want more information on the website, dallaspitcrew.com. All right, time for the career tip of the week. Good morning, Rosina.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. All right. This week's tip of the week is dedicated to Michelle Hawk. On Monday, we had a workshop with Career Care for Bill Brewer's area. And she asked several questions after the workshop. And so as I was doing the search to try and answer some of her questions, it turned out to be a great career tip for everybody. So this week's career tip is finding your dream job, navigating the top 100 company lists for career success. And so basically there's 2 main searches that are part of this group, and I use Google Gemini when I'm doing it, and everything is coming based on all of the information is coming based on the prompts. So the first prompt I use is please create a list of top 100 or best 100 companies lists produced by organizations, business journals, or newspapers for companies across the US. So the feedback results are broken into lists that came by financial performance and size, by employee satisfaction and workplace culture, by corporate responsibility and reputation, by industry or specific categories, by fastest growth, by reputation and management effectiveness, by diversity and inclusion, by industry and niche. And I stopped there because there's a lot of other continued categories and differentiators. So that's just a highlight of some of the different breakdowns of the list that came back for companies across the US. Then the second search I did was the prompt is please create a list of top 100 or best 100 companies lists produced by organizations, business journals, or newspapers for companies across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And that returned the results of best places to work lists, such as the Dallas Morning News top workplaces, Dallas Business Journal's best places to work, and then Fort Worth Inc.'s best companies to work for in Fort Worth. And then, of course, continuing on with lists based on revenue and financial performance and broader business rankings. So as you go through the entire document, it's about 15 pages, but basically it has lists broken out by a variety of different things, especially as the prompt stated, the top 100 or the best 100 companies for certain areas or categories. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the list and all the information you get from it. Please share, of course, the list as you are working within your accountability groups, using personally for yourself as an individual, or during a networking session. Make edits to refine the search to specific information that you seek. And I just hope it helps. As Walt is getting ready to teach us how to sell ourselves in an interview, I hope you can use all these different lists to find companies that will work best for you. Then you can turn around and sell yourself during an interview. So I wish everyone a fantastic Friday and weekend, and see y'all next week.
All right, Rosina, thank you. Somebody had a question. Yes, the list will be sent out. Like it said, Rosina said it's 15 pages long. When I saw it this morning, I decided not to print it out for me because that will be there. But everybody will get a copy of it when I send it out tomorrow.
Thank you, Rosina. That's great work. Thanks a lot.
Not a problem. Anytime.
Today for lunch, we're going to go to Jason's Deli, meet there 1145, 4801 West Parker Road. It's on the northeast corner of Parker and Preston. So come join us. A great way to continue networking with everybody and to find out how we can help everybody. If you want to receive today's materials from Walt's speaker presentation, the link to the YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch this if you'd like to. You'll get a copy of the career tip of the week with all the details. You'll get a copy of the Zoom chat window. To do that, please make sure that for everybody here in person that you've checked yourself off on the contact list or filled out the little white piece of paper and it's legible, that I can read it. If you don't think it's legible, you're welcome to try again. Put anything that's in there that would be great. These people I can't find. So these people either didn't submit emails or whatever. So if your name's up here, please update the contact list or put your information into the message chat window so I can get it updated. All right. It's time for our main event. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just raise your hand and or enter your questions in the chat window. Today, our speaker is Walt Glass. Everybody knows Walt. The Interview Success Workshop, and he's going to talk about the selling interview. If anybody has a question in here, just walk up to the computer. So thank you, Walt, for being here today.
I should not have looked into the light of the projector. There's a lot more of you out there than was a few minutes ago. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Walt Glass, and I want to talk to you today about the selling interview. Now, you may have heard me speak before. I give another couple of presentations regarding interviewing. This one I haven't given in a few years. This was quite different than what I've done in the past. And so inside of the workshop, we really deal with the fundamentals of selling. And how do we really sell? Do I help? So I'll pull most of the content out of that workshop for this particular presentation. And I've also pulled some content and things from John McDormand, who has his own thing he used to do in helping job seekers. So some content comes to him. So I want to thank John for some of this content. So we're going to talk today about the selling interview. So we all agree that selling is what we're in an interview. And so today I'm going to cover a ton of information that I'm not going to read to you. It's in the handout. But my decision to do this was I'm going to let the handout give you a lot of the detail that I'm not going to have to read to you, but it's in the handout. You'll see what's in the handout, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But today, if I went over everything that's in the presentation, it would take about 2 hours. So I'm not going to do that to you. So let's get started here. All right. Go forward. Move. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably doing that. Technology is great when it works. I guess I'm allowing sharing. Okay. We're in business. So a little bit about me there, which I've already told you. But the question is how do we really sell ourselves? And selling ourselves effectively, how can we result with a very positive differentiation from other candidates. Our job is to say, this is who I am. This is the kind of person I am. This is how I work. This is my expertise. This is my knowledge. This is my skills. These are my experiences. And this is the value that I can bring with those attributes, and with that knowledge and experience, I can help you do this. And so if we do that effectively, we've done our job. It's up to them to decide, but that would be called a successful interview if we're able to sell those elements and do it successfully in the interview process. So today I'm going to give you lots of ideas. Everybody has an opinion. And of course, I'm just one that has opinions too. And for just about everybody that has an opinion on A, there's another person that says never do A. I mean, you really can't figure it out. So today, listen to the things that we talk about and discuss today and say, if you were the interviewer, how would that go if you were the interviewer, if a candidate does this kind of stuff, okay? Just kind of look at it from that perspective and see if that would help you make a difference in selecting what you'd like to do. So things have changed. Would you agree? So I've showed this in a few other presentations, and so I still remember like one comment the first time I showed it. One person said, "Well, it depends on which child." All right. So I have a question for you, and you can put this also in the chat. I'd like to know this. This is probably the most important thing I'm covering it right up front. First is that what's the percent of the hiring decisions based upon enthusiasm and or interest in the job and the company? So put your answers in the chat. You can use the A, B, C, D, E. Okay, all A's in the room. Any B's? 2, any C's? 1, any D's? 5, who doesn't care? Wait, we got one. We got an E over here. All right. So look at this. Look at that. What does that say to us? Over 50% of the decision is made on this factor. Therefore, we want to prepare ourselves in a place where we feel like we can show genuine interest and enthusiasm in the job. And if we're sitting there saying, please God help me answer these questions, it's not easy to show interest and enthusiasm in that job. But with some preparation and some practice and some practice and did I say practice? You'll get to this point where you're looking forward to the interview, where you want to meet the people or this person. You're anxious and talking about the job and the company and all that. And it's going to be a great conversation. It's going to be a good time. It's not a light flashing before your eyes and you're worried about getting benefits, etc. It's just having a great conversation to talk about that, to do that. So this is very significant, but it doesn't just happen overnight. So what's the parts of a successful interview? Well, there's content. We've got something we've got to say and tell, right? They're going to ask us some questions and we're going to respond to those questions with some content. And there's some general questions that comes out all the time, very common, that we can prepare for, have at least at a starting point, and then we can tailor that to the job description for that particular interview to say, okay, I can at least prepare some of these things, because they'll probably ask. And if they don't ask, the content and everything is still going to help you feel better about how you're going to handle that interview. But that content starts, all right? Well, now how are we going to tell the content? How do we sell? How do we really mouth the words? And how do we show that passion, interest, and enthusiasm in that response about what we're talking about? Well, if we don't know what we're going to say, how can you be energetic about it, right? So I have a guideline that says, if you don't know what you're going to say, don't talk. Don't say anything. Pause and think about what you're going to say and then answer it, all right? Now, you're the interviewer. Which would you rather have? Oh, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that question. I've had many experiences with what was the question again? You can go down that road and say, oh, you're not looking at me. You're looking around. You're thinking of what you're going to say and all that stuff. You're not making contact. Pause, stop, think. Now, in the workshop, I don't have a stopwatch on pauses. You can pause as long as you want. You can start over. So, okay, let me think about that a little bit. Great, think about it. Go for it, all right? And think till you have something to say. If you don't practice pausing, you won't. it takes effort because we feel this pressure to talk very quickly. So the delivery is very important. And then we want to build a rapport with our interviewer, okay? In that conversational mode that we can get into, and the way we talk to them, and the way we talk about the job in the company, and how we demonstrate our experience and background and our values, that's going to build rapport. Building rapport increases memory. Well, how'd you like that interview with Walt? Well, it was a good interview. Well, what was it about it you like? It's just a good interview. All right. Some connection was made. Something was happened. You couldn't maybe point to one specific thing. All right. So what are we selling? The I am, I do, I help, which I've told you about. It all has to be relevant to the job, right? We can't sell water safety instructors certification, which means I'm a lifeguard, if they don't need a lifeguard here in the company. One person was in an interview yesterday. He says, I'm very interested in working in, she was going into the, see, what industry was it? I can't remember what industry A, and she says, in her opening statement, she says, I'm very interested in this, but I'm also open to other industries. I said, well, why would you say that in an interview? To say, hey, I don't have to work here, I can work somewhere else too. So we don't kind of understand sometimes what we're saying. But anyway, very relevant to the job. All right. So let's start with a job description. A job description is not a guaranteed document on what they're looking for. It's a starting point. I've seen job descriptions with a senior title and a manager title, and the content was exactly the same, but the responsibilities and the authority levels and everything was quite different in that job description. So let's start with looking at that. You know that little phrase that says, and other duties as assigned? You better ask a question about what are those other duties? Because I'm going to look at what you're going to pay me based on what we're talking about here. And this blank, this other duties, this is addition of value I can bring may be worth more than what we're talking about here. So can you list some of these other duties? So that'd be a good question to ask. So what I do is I take a job description and I analyze it. You can take any of them that you want and say, okay, all the soft skills I put in red. All the I do's are basically, here's an action or something that you do or take. And then they may have a result of that, ensuring or in order to. So you do this action in order to achieve this or ensuring that this occurs. And so I said, okay, I take multiple job descriptions for the kind of job I'm looking for, put them all together, and I look and say, okay, what's the most, what are all the soft skills they're generally looking for? What are the I helps? What are the, and let's take a look at that. It says, okay, so here's my starting list for I am, I do, and I help. This happens to be a project manager. And so here's all the I ams that came out of that particular job description. Interesting enough, if it's a technical job, very technical, I rarely see even one soft skill listed. It's got a whole list of technical expertise that you need to have and have experience with, but there's not anything in it that says that you're fun to work with or anything like that. It's very interesting about that on the technical descriptions. Okay. Now I'm going to pick one, and I want to use this as an example. The reason I pick critical thinking is I don't think many people know what it is. And even the people who ask me about critical thinking, I'm not sure they know what it is either, right? Because when I asked, I get questions like, able to think quickly and make a decision in a hurry. This critical situation. That's not critical thinking at all. So I want to just spend just a few minutes with that. So here's the definition of it. We're just using data and facts and evidence, okay? And we want to remove the biases. We want to take our feelings out of it. Now, how do we do that? That's pretty hard to do. That's pretty difficult. We all have our own filters, own beliefs, our own values, and we're going to filter some of those things. But we want to say, all right, wait a minute. Let me do this. You might want to be like a person who uses dialogue instead of debate. in a situation. So debate means there's a winner and a loser. Dialogue says, we're putting the information together. We're deciding what's right, not who's right. We're into this thing working as a team, et cetera. Those kind of things can help us. So this is what we're trying to do with the critical thinking. So I got a question for you. If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one to hear it, does it make a sound? Have you heard that question before? Okay. How many say yes? How many say no? How many didn't vote? All right. Or the I don't knows. Well, let's do what apply critical thinking. If we apply critical thinking in physics, the answer is yes. Creating a sound. It's a wave. Okay. And so, and it transmits through some sort of medium, liquid or solid even. All right. So yeah, it's a vibration. But in human physiology and psychology, it's a no. If there's nobody there to hear it, then there's nothing. But that's the definition according to this perspective. Okay. So here are the facts. It's not a yes or no answer to that question. I did some research. I looked it up. I said, what happens? What goes with that? Okay. And even that, even the dogs can hear much higher range than me. That's why dogs bark, and we wonder what they're barking at. They hear something that we can't hear, right? So skills, I'm not going to read these to you, but being able to identify, research, identify the biases, make an inference on decisions, determine the relevance, curiosity. All right. If you want to talk critical thinking, these are the things we want to talk about. And I'll bring this up again a little bit later. So then I asked ChatGPT, I said, critical thinking is pretty good, but so what? What's it good for? How does it help us? What do we do? People underestimate the value of what we do all the time. I see it all the time. And so one of the things I talk about is when we talk about our soft skills, I say, let's add the value of the soft skill. So when somebody says, what are your strengths? And we'll get to that question in a little bit. So, well, they're A, B, and C. So what? But those allow me to do what? Allow me to achieve what? So now I'm selling I am, I do, and I help in that answer. And that's what I'll kind of talk about. So what's the business value? So I'm looking at the value of it, and I'm going to summarize what came out from ChatGPT. It gave us a definition. Then it has, I just gave you the highlights. It's got details in each one of these bullets. The key ways it creates business value were listed. There were 3 or 4 or 5 listed there. How to spot and measure it. How can you instill it? What are the pitfalls of it? So that's great information to know. So if you want to look at any of your soft skills and you say, what's the business value of this soft skill? You're going to get some great information out of AI to help you with understanding the value. I suggest you look at it yourself. Well, almost every value has an immediate result. That immediate result affects another result. That's a value. And that affects another result. I've seen it go 4 levels of results other than just what happened. And we completed the project. Okay. Thank you, project manager, for completing the project. But what did the project do? And what was the value of that? And then what happened? So you satisfied a customer. What happened to that? Oh, you got some referrals from the customer. How many sales did you make from that? And it could go on and on if we just stop and think about it. So I'll just pick critical thinking about that. So here's all some of the I do's that came out, and here's where the I helps. How many I helps do you think are there? 16. So here's a job description. It has 16 values listed, to which we said, better prioritize these, take a look at these, and I want to start selling to this. I want to do some other things in the interview to find out what their particular priorities are. But here are some things. And so take your job descriptions, take many of them, look at it, see how many of the high ups are, look at all these things, the values that you bring. I think it will broaden our list of the value we can bring when we talk in an interview. Okay? Poll number 3. So I am, I do, I help. Let's talk about which one's the most important? A, B, or C? C. 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 Well, they are rated as 100, 99, and 98 because they're all important. They're all very important. Which one can kill the rest? 1, A, I am. If the culture doesn't fit, the fact that we can do the job and we can provide value to them doesn't matter because it is just a pain to work there. It's difficult. It's hard to get things done. The people don't work together, whatever culture it is that fits you. So that's why if you don't talk about culture and ask some things about culture in that interview to see if there's a match, we're off track. We want to find out pretty quickly about that. I have another presentation called Determining Culture Fit, just on the culture piece alone. All right. Traditional interview model. Interviewer and us, they ask, we answer, and hope they give us a call. How does that sound like a worthwhile thing that you would do in your office on a normal job that you have? So you take your job, you got a particular thing going on. So we talk about it and we ask questions and answers, then everybody leaves and we say, well, I hope somebody's going to follow up and do something. We don't do that at work, but we do that in interviews. We would just say, oh, let me answer the questions. Oh yeah, I got to do those dadgum thank you notes. Let me get, oh, okay. And we wait for a call and we don't hear anything. We're not going to hear from people very much. The job search is a negative road most of the time. It is no's. We're not going to get there. It's not going to get a response back. We're not going to hear from people. They make commitments and don't keep them. And so that's the mental part where we say, okay, spend enough time here, start spending next time here, and just keep going. But anyway, that's not the way we want to do it. So we want to do it is this way. They need us. They need us for something. That's why they have this job open, one reason or another, all right? We have skills and we have accomplishments. So we got the I am, I do, I help in there. Notice that accomplishments. We want to talk about the value we bring. A lot of people talk in generics. We don't talk about specifics. I'll talk about that in a minute. So we have a discussion back and forth. We both ask questions. We both have answers. Who's got the responsibility? We do. We are there to make them an offer they can't refuse. It's our job to sell ourselves to the point where they want to call us. It's not our job to answer and hope they call us. Make a difference? Make sense? All right. This is getting rarer and rarer. It's hard. Some people are being forced to go back to work, you know, and this, and their budgets have changed. It's because they've spent their money and now got to buy clothes and got to pay for gas and transportation and all that sort of thing. And so, but yep, we want to talk to each other. So let's just talk about the greeting. And I ask this in every workshop. How important is the greeting? High on the list, first impression stuff. Nod your head, Jeff. Yeah, he is. Okay, he's in agreement with me. Yep. So we want to make the greeting different than what the typical greeting is. The typical greeting is not bad. It's not wrong. Typical greeting. Hello, it's good to meet with you today. Thank you for taking the time to come, you know, to talk with me today. How about one that says, good morning. Before we get started, I really want to let you know I'm very excited about this position. And I look forward to having a conversation, a discussion with you about the job in the company. And I think I can make a significant contribution to your team and your company. Excited, I am. Having a conversation. I love to have a conversational interview. I like to try to create a conversational interview up front. I may not be successful. As one person said when she asked a question, the interviewer said, look, this is not about me. This is about you. That's a culture example, right? Oh, okay, hiring manager. This is how you operate. May have a concern. You know, people don't usually leave companies. They leave management. They leave other people. Managers seem to always win, whether they're right or wrong. So that's why we want to find a company that is not in that type of culture. But I'm looking forward to adding value. I'm looking forward to contributing something. I'm here to do that, and I'm focused on that. One person called me. I asked him to call me after his interview. He said, how'd it go? He said, it went pretty good. I said, well, how did it start out? He said, well, they asked me, why did you come here? And he said, I'm here to find out what I can do to help you. That alone blew their socks off. They've never had anybody say that. Never told them that. Nobody said, I'm looking here to help, to make a difference, to add value, to do that. He just came in and was trying to get a job, all right? Very, very different on that. So I picked these particular types for today's because some of them are kind of difficult for us to handle. This is not all of them, but this is some of the ones that we have. So we're going to kind of spend on those. But for each question that we have, I want to know the motive behind the question. Why are they asking this question? Why now in the process? And from whom am I getting the question? So those are the three parameters that say determine how we're going to respond to a question. Who's asking, what the question is, and where are you in the process? I mean, salary question right up front. Recruiter calls, hey, got a great job. What's your salary requirement? What are you making in your last job? It's a knockout question immediately, right? Right up front. You don't know anything. They don't know a whole lot, but they're going to say, hey, I have the ability to figure out that if what you were making in your last job is not going to work here on this job, then you won't work. Suffice it to say, I make $250,000 a year. I don't need any money, but I really like doing and executing these things. I'll take an $85,000 a year job just to keep busy and doing stuff that I enjoy doing. Wouldn't you like to hire somebody like that? That's got all that experience and information and there's say, hey, I'd be happy just doing this. So anyway, so what is the strategy and approach that we might use for that category, right? For that particular question? What's our content? How are we going to deliver it? What are we going to say? How are we going to say it? And do we have a potential question that we want to ask them for more detail? That fits the conversational mode. So if they say, how do you use collaboration? Or have you ever had a time when you had difficulty collaborating? My immediate thought is, I wonder if they are having difficulty collaborating. I wonder if that's a problem they have. And they might want me to come in to help solve that, to be an added value to that. Or it could be the other end. They don't know anything. They're just reading questions. They have no idea what job you're looking for. So it can go from one extreme to the other. But anyway, what's the reason for that question, all right? And so we might want to ask a question back. It says, okay, well, how effective are the different departments working together today? Now you can find out kind of what's going on, all right? I liken this to the benefits. Please don't bring up benefits until the offer. If I give any impression that the benefits are the key reason I need this job, it's only the second reason I need this job. All right, because we all need them, right? It's important. But it's true, we don't want to starve to death. That's right. So let's look at the icebreaker type questions. Tell me about yourself is pretty popular, not guaranteed. Walk me through your resume. Why are you here? So here's a whole bunch of questions that may be asked at the beginning of saying, all right, to get started with, all right? Describe your ideal job. What are your career goals? How long you've been looking for a job? You can all come back to that. Well, here's a couple of answers. These have been pulled for, they're supposed to be real. So if you had never quit a job, I wonder why you left the last, that'd be my next question. Why did you leave those 14 jobs? I want to know every one of them, right? All right. What's the motive? I want to get to know you. I want to know who you are. I want to know what you've done. I want to know, I'm just getting to know you. Get started here. Give me some information on that. There are some people that are on the negative side of things. They're looking for reasons not to hire. Okay, you never know which motive is behind and which ones are looking at and which why or why. And so what is our approach? I call it the 90 seconds opening statement. So interviews have an opening, a middle, and a closing. So the opening is pretty critical. It's part B of the first impression. The greeting was part A. Then this first answer is part B. We want to make an opening statement. Suppose they don't ask us a question that is answered by an opening statement. We want to make one. Stay on their agenda. But there's no reason we can't ask to change their agendas. Well, I'll be glad to answer that question. If you don't want to answer a question now, tell them you will answer it. Don't just do something differently, right? So I'll be glad to answer that question. Would it be all right with you? I'm getting permission to do something different if we talk more about the job, the role, the responsibilities, the expectations, all that stuff. Then I'd be glad to have a conversation with you about this. I'd like to make an opening statement. So I'm going to pay some attention to the here's my suggestion for the opening statement. If you don't have this and you won't want to adopt this as an opening statement, I would suggest that you prepare the content for this opening statement because it'll probably come up. All right. So my first thing is tell me. So I'm going to tell them that I love this kind of work and I love this job. I was in college. They put a computer across the hall in a summer job. I've been in information technology ever since, and I love focusing on the customer service using my business skills. Okay? Something like that. Says, I like that. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of key attributes, a couple of key experience or expertise, and a couple of 2 or 3 generic values. So with my whatever skills you have, here are 2 or 3 very important activities that I do, experience that I have in, very relevant to the job, most priority that you can see on these, and they're resulting in. So I'm this kind of person to do these things in order to achieve these kinds of results, generic results, all right? But then I want you to add a specific result. This is a deal breaker in my book. It says, everyone talks in generalities. I want to give a specific to my generality. So I'm saying, and I improve customer retention. For example, I had one customer that we're going to lose, but I saved them, and they were giving us $120,000 a year in revenue. But you're like, I don't going to tell them anymore. I'm not going to tell the story. Now, there are those who say, tell the story in the opening. I think it lengthens it. You want to tell one, tell one. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I'm just telling you my preferences, and you can decide which you want to go. Because I want to keep it to that 90 seconds. The guideline is start with brevity, let them ask for more detail. Every question, start with brevity, let them ask for more detail. And then when we add that specific result to it. Now, I left my last job because if it's downsizing, RIF, acquisition, merger, that's all we need to say today. We don't need to, everybody understands those terms today. And what happens was, oh yeah, I understand that. How many here have not experienced that? I mean, just about everybody has gone through something like that today, all right? That, very, very short on why I left. But now I'm going to give you 2 reasons why I want this job. Here's why this job is important to me. This is what it is. I love doing this activities, achieving these kinds of results. And I'm going to give you 2 reasons why this company. Why do you want to work here? They're going to ask you that. Why do you want this job? Why do you want to work here? Very brief, okay? We're just talking about a couple sentences here on this. But here's a couple of reasons what it is about this company. If you're not in healthcare for improvement of quality of life, you're in the wrong industry. It's a little bit strong to say. But most people that are in healthcare, that's the driving reason they're in healthcare. Am I right, Brett? Brett's our physician, resident physician. By the way, I need an appointment, Brett. I can't get in to see anybody else, and it seems like you're available. All right. Okay. Now, I'm specifically interested in whatever this position title is. So this is kind of like a little transfer statement, all right? Now that I told you something about myself, I suggest we ask one of 2 questions right up front. Can you please tell me what I need to do in the first 6 to 9 months so I've done an outstanding job? It's performance review time. What have I done in my performance to say that I'm an outstanding employee? I'll just take, what can I do for you? Anything that's in the I help. So how can I help you? When you go to the car dealership, does the salesman come out and say, do you want to buy this truck? Well, who would do that? Candidates do it all the time. We're going to say, here's what I do. I'm going to just do this and throw it on the wall and see if it sticks. No, we're going to use sales techniques. We're going to find out their needs. So when I ask Penn what he's looking for, and I ask Jeff what he's looking for, I'm going to get 2 different answers. If I'm talking to IT, it's going to be one. If I'm talking to marketing, talking to sales, talking to operations, talking to executives, they all have different perspectives of how I can help them individually. And so I'm looking at everybody I talk to is, what can I do for you? How can I make your job easier? How can I make your life easier? How can I contribute, right? So tell me what they do. The second question is, and I don't want you to ask them consecutively because I don't want you to take over the interview, but it's also very important. What are the top 3 characteristics for a successful candidate? Now you can lead in. I saw several things listed in the job description on the soft skills that you're looking for, but can you tell me what are your top 3 that or do you think are critically important for success in this role? Now we don't ask questions to get data. We ask questions to start a conversation. So the reason I put those 2 up front is because, remember, the culture is a knockout. So I want to find out about culture early on. I also want to find out how I can help early on. And sometimes I suggest reversing these. So when it's convenient to ask the second question, you want to get that question in. The first question comes at the end of, tell me about yourself. Now I'll tell you something about myself. Can you tell me? All right. Which one would you like to talk about first? Now I'm in a conversation. I need you to do A, B, and C. Well, now we bring it back down to 90 days. Okay, what I need to do now? What's important now? How can I help you right now? What's most important to do that? So you can get a little bit of a conversation with that. We sell to their needs. Now I know how to orient myself and say, here's what's most important. I can do 15 things. They need these 3, so let me emphasize these 3 when I'm doing, when I'm talking to them. So, do you get the strengths question now these days? Do they ask you, what are your strengths? That's occurring, okay? So, here's different questions on strengths. It's really a goodness of fit question. The thing is, do these strengths help you do this job to achieve these results? That's the strengths question. That's what's going on behind that. Okay, somebody says great interpersonal skills. Well, here's 88 of them. And so it's very broad in a job description when you say, so which ones are important to them? Which ones? So we need to ask them. So which ones are important to you? All right. I looked at this list and I fit 74 of them. Not quite. Do you know that responsibility rarely shows up on a job description? Do you ever see the word responsible on a job description? Accountable? Sometimes you see a little bit about accountable, but nobody says I'm responsible. I was doing an implementation. It happened to be Collin College. They were doing a system implementation for them. So we're doing the kickoff meeting. And in that meeting, I said, I am held responsible for a successful implementation. And the CIO was very impressed by that, because I look at it and say, if it doesn't go well, what did we not do to make that implementation go well? Okay. And that's how I looked at my job. So I want to make sure we do everything so that when they implement it, it goes well. All right. Goodness of fit, our attributes arsenal and their value. And then we ask this question, what are the critical strengths? Weaknesses. You get the weaknesses question, shortcoming, mistakes, greatest failure, all this negative stuff, okay? Tell me about your recent mistakes. How might you be a risk? The whole job search is to have a low risk in hiring an employee. Risk is the number 1 factor. I'll look at you and say, you are no risk at all. I can't wait for you to get started. I'm ready for you to go. I can't wait for you to come aboard. Okay, that's one end. The other one is, if there's any doubt, if there's any uncertainty, they will not pick us. But that's okay if it's not a good match. If it doesn't match us, if we've done the right thing in our interview. So goodness of fit. The approach is we want to give a very short negative and we want to turn it into a positive. So this is how to handle negative questions in general. Let's don't be really negative. So let me give you a little bit more detail on it. We'd have to tell the truth, but we don't have to tell the awful truth. The truth. When I go to the grocery store, I forget to use my coupons. So what I do is I'll put them in the glove compartment and I'll have them each time I go to the store. The awful truth, I forget them. I remember them at the register, go back to the car and look at them, they're expired. So I don't need to tell that. I just tell the part that's the truth. I'm not hiding anything from them particularly, but I don't need to tell them the impact of anything. So we did this and we lost customers. I mean, let's don't pick those. Let's pick nits. Let's pick something that's not significant, but has a good learning to it. A great failure can be a significant learning, but a minor incident. So I read the book, The 1 Minute Manager, and it said, catch somebody doing something right. Changed my leadership style from that day forward. Okay. I just hadn't been doing that very much. And so now it's in the forefront as an example. Negative questions, we don't want to talk a long time. We don't want to tell a story. If they ask us to tell a story, we're going to make it very brief, as much as possible. So, okay. So for mistakes, what'd you learn? What happened? How did you correct it? How would you learn from it so that we don't do it again? Weaknesses. So how do you manage your weaknesses? I used to code. Anybody remember COBOL, ALC? Can you read machine language? You know what an opcode 90 is? I used to be able to do it. I don't do that anymore. I mean, look at what we're using. I mean, how did I get this stuff to show up here on the screen like this? How does this web? I don't know how it does that. But I can hire people who can. It's because I moved into the management ranks and said, okay, how am I going to find the right people to do that? So always pause, even if you have an answer. Why do we do that? I don't want to let you know that I can think of something negative like that. I have to work at it. So this is a little bit of gamesmanship. This is about the only place I talk about it. But this is a little place where I want to make it look a little bit difficult for me to think of something negative. All right. But prepare one. Because if you don't have one, you're going to sit there and sweat. How are you going to answer that? What's the negative going to be? All right. Pick a nit. I didn't accidentally shut the data center down. No. Let's don't give that one. All right. I remember when I first I was a computer operator in a summer job. They were working on the LIM, the Lunar Excursion Module. And they had just a whole computer, a little IBM 1620, if you go back that far to work on that. And it had a handle you could pull, emergency shut. You could pull it out. There's a sign on it that said, there's no such emergency. We ain't going to do that. But pick something that is not a significant business impact, but has a significant learning for you. Doesn't have to be a really bad, nasty thing with that, okay? We can ignore recent and we can ignore plural. Give one and shut up. If they want to know more, let them ask. Odds are they won't be prepared, but odds are the motive of the question was, did you admit your mistake? Did you learn from your mistake? How you do that? Guess how I hear? Well, everybody makes mistakes. And I'm thinking, you don't know what you're going to say, do you? And we're trying to think, well, think about it. Pause and think about it. All right, particularly with this. Every time I ask this question, people pause because they don't have an answer anyway. So they're not prepared for that. Likes and dislikes. What do you like? What do you dislike? Job, company, boss. That's 3 different questions. They're asking us to throw our job, our company, and our boss under the bus. No, we don't want to do that. What gives you the greatest satisfaction? What do you like best? Okay. What do you like about your job, company, or boss? What do you dislike about them? Whose frame of reference are we going to use in our answer? All right. Pick from the achievement. What do you like? I like achievements. I like values. I like it when we have great customers. I like it when this. What do you dislike? I don't like it when customers are unhappy. So what I do is, this is how I avoid that. So I like to start with the achievement system. What do you like? What did you not like about your last boss? Boss was great. Got along well. We did a lot of things together. It's hard to get to see him at times, so I just got on his schedule, and that didn't work sometimes, so I took him to lunch once a month, and that worked. End of story, all right? He wasn't a bad boss. He was a great boss. In fact, he was my boss twice in 2 different companies. He hired me. He didn't. I inherited him one time, and he hired me the second time. He was a good guy. Just put it that way. All right. Use their frame of reference and talk about it. What do I like? I don't like it because people don't do this. And I don't like it when people don't do this. And I don't like it. That's what you don't like. And then if you don't like those things, you're just telling me why reasons I shouldn't hire you. Because those things are going to exist. Somebody said, I don't like politics. I was told when I worked at work, you said there's no politics in EDS. I said, you mean they're minimized? Don't you can't tell me. You can't tell me there's no politics. All right, there's going to be some. I know some significant salespeople, significant meaning brought in tons of sales that got away with a few things. All right, so there's some politics going on. All right, so what do you dislike? I don't like it when we're not achieving this, and so here's what I do to do that. Okay. But that way we're not complaining. We're not throwing people under the bus. How about salary questions? How many people like salary questions? Walt, let's get serious here. Okay. Now we got it. All right. We have a salary range of A to Z, which means the offer is going to be A. Competitive salary. How do we be competitive? I want to mention this to you. This is kind of on applications. A lot of people say they ask salary information on there. In an empty space, in there where you can put a comment. Here's a comment I suggest you write. All salary amounts reported in this application reflect my current salary target. Okay, that's an option for you, but we are a little bit nervous about putting down an exact amount, and they're forcing us to put down an exact amount. And so if you want to play the game, then they say, oh, you want to play the game. That's negative. Playing the game is negative. Oh, I'll put down $1. I'll put, they're forcing me to put something down for that. So negotiable, whatever. You can't do that. They won't pick us. All right. Well, I wouldn't put it on an application. Not on an application. I'm talking about the application only right now. Okay. Well, the reality is everything's negotiable. When it gets to the offer time, you can negotiate or not. Okay. So do your market research. Find out in ahead. I give you some sites here. Salary and pay scale. BLS.gov is great. It has a lot of parameters, education levels, years of experience, et cetera, like that. But it's always in location, industry, and job title. You have to play with job titles. I don't know of any job that doesn't have at least 3 titles today. They all have different, talent acquisition. What happened to recruiter? I mean, we're in talent acquisition, right, Rosina? All right. So you can also do a search, a Google search. What are the salary for this job in this city, in this state? Always look at where the data is coming from when you're looking at these surveys and this information. How do they get the data? Indeed and Glassdoor, where does that come from? The employee. Where does salary.com come from? Where does BLS go? It comes from the company. So that's company provided data versus employee. I can go in Indeed and say I was making whatever I want to say. I could use it as a potential benchmark, but I'm not going to go in and tell an HR person, well, Indeed said this. He said, well, Indeed's wrong. All right. So what would you require in terms of salary? So that's question number 1. What were you making in your last position is question number 2. And sometimes we get, what about minimum? Now I'm going to answer minimum first. I don't know what's the minimum amount of work I have to do around here. Now, that's humor. It has to be funny for them, okay? But the real thing is about minimum is they're saying, you're asking me to do all of this for this minimum. Sometimes it's very appropriate. They're a startup. They don't have the cash. They don't have the money. There's other parameters in making that job decision and other things in the offer that's going to be that. And so, but that says that they're strapped for cash. I mean, they can't afford it for one reason or another. And so that's kind of a red flag. So you have a salary range. Do you have a salary range for yourself? in your job? Do you know what that range is? Do you already have it prepared and know? So that low number, would you go to work for that number? If not, then that's not the low number. William has a question.
I have a comment actually.
Shoot.
So that second one is illegal in some jurisdictions.
That is correct. There are some states that do not allow that, but guess what? They still ask. Not everybody knows the law. Yes, they can. Yep, they can. All right. And you can't say it's illegal. You can't ask that question in an interview. You can't correct your interviewer. You correct them after you get hired. Right? But you can't. So it still could come across, but you're right. And it's not in very many states. I think New York is one of them. But, you know, in the state where you're looking for a job, pardon? Okay, Austin is what? Right. So it is an illegal question in some states, but that doesn't. We got to be prepared to handle that question. All right. So minimum salary. So, question: what's the best way to answer? What are your salary requirements? I give you F choices here. Now take a look at that. Jeff's going to put it into the chat window so we can. So when you get the chat and you get these A's, B's, and C's, you'll know what the question was when you look at the copy of the chat. And I thank you, Jeff, for doing that for me today. So, A's. Nobody here? Anybody online? Give an A. Now I hear that answer. See, I'd rather not talk about it now. I'd rather talk about it later. Just blunt. There it is. Bingo. That comes out. I've heard. That's why I put it on the list, because this is what I hear a lot. I'm sure we can agree on a fair and equitable salary. How many? Okay, there's a few of us that say that. Oh, well, tell me, what's your range? Okay, so that's the first word I about. What was your salary requirement? Oh, well, tell me, what's your range? I mean, they just jump right in with that. All right, let's go ahead and give them a number. Nobody here in the room. How about just, I'll give you a range. So, okay, I'll answer the question. I'll tell you. What's your salary? Here. I mean, that's always an option for us. All right. Doesn't mean it's not the best thing to say. These are options, aren't they? How about, anybody have any other responses to say anything that I did not list? Just jump in if you're online. So how do we answer that question? Where are you in the process? Yes.
This is Nikki Duncan. I've actually told them that based on my research, my experience, and the requirements of the job, I'm looking to make between X and X.
Okay.
Or, you know, A and B.
Yes.
And basing it on my research, the description, my experience, and how I help with that.
Right. And that's an option for us. I'm not telling you don't say that. I'm telling you that is an option. You know, it may be time to give a number. I mean, they may say, we're not going any further until you answer this question.
Now, I have also, on the last interview I had, told them that GPT gave me a quoted range. What is yours?
There you go.
That's how I answered it.
I love that. Early on, it's an elimination question. It's a showstopper question. If you've been in the pit crew, we talk about showstoppers every now and then, all right? I don't know whether they can afford us or not. It may be a smaller company, doesn't have the money, but they need us, and there's other benefits that might be on the table. I mean, I was offered, you know, to get into this company, I was going to be on the ground floor. That was me and one other guy. So I kind of asked a few questions about it and said, no, no thanks for that. So, and sometimes they want to lowball us, see if they can get in for less money, all right? We never know exactly what the motive might be. So here's the approach. We're going to repel a nail or respond to nail. Let me define nailing. You just said it. You said, what is your range? So it's equivalent to the sentence or the phrase, but I am interested, what is your range? So whether I repel, not answer right away, or I respond, I answer right away, I follow with, and what is your range? Okay. I don't say I would like to know your range. Yeah, I bet you would. Just ask them. All right. Just ask them. They'll either tell you or not. The question to this is, are they not going to hire you because you asked? How great is the risk for asking the question? You think it's a risk? No, it's not a risk to ask. Okay. It's not a risk. They may not answer. Okay. But it's not a risk to ask. So what? Just come up here so they can see you.
Yeah.
If you would, please.
Yep. Well, I guess this camera is not on, but yeah, no, I was just going to say a little bit. I don't know if it was Michelle who said it, but if you are going to respond, going back to your comment on, the other activities or other duties might be assigned,
Right.
you can use, you always have to use that, based on what I know until
Oh,
this
you
point,
took the words out of my mouth. Miguel.
then, this is.
Did you learn
this
that
is
in
a
the
number.
workshop?
I did go to your workshop.
Okay. Yeah. Because it said, well, based on what I know now, I would expect X to Y. That says, yep, it's a possibility. The objective of the salary question is what? You're all not going to know. To keep the process moving. To not let it be a showstopper. So if it's early on.
You're lucky if you get the interview, because otherwise, if you put it on the application, what you would like, then you will be passed over.
Well, that's true. Okay. But isn't it good to be passed over?
No, I'm tired of being passed over.
I mean, if they can't meet your salary requirement there, and that's what your salary requirement is, and they can't meet it, don't you want to be passed over? Now, I would love to get an opportunity to show my value so that they can go back and get more money. That's happened. Time out. I'm going to change your job title. I'm going to go back and ask for more money in the budget for this because I want you to come work for us. So I would love to have the time to talk with them and sell my value, my am, I do, I help, so that then when we get to the other end. So you can say, well, based upon what I know now, which always says, I haven't agreed to anything, but let's keep moving. So I love that phrase, Miguel, and I would suggest that's a strong option to use, particularly if it's up front. But you can also say, well, I don't know anything about the company. I don't know anything about anything. Can you tell me something before we talk about that? Would that be all right with you? Okay. Making your last job. Well, it's not fair to compare, but I can't tell them that. So what do I say? I'd be glad to answer your question. Okay, I'm not going to answer. So I say, I'd be glad to answer it. I'm not going to answer it right now. I'm not going to ignore it. All right. What about with you? We discussed this. So I'd like to move from last job to requirements. That's the attempt to do that here. So if you want to give the last job and you say the numbers in there and said, but if you've got some other numbers in range that says, don't let this, what I was making in my last job stop. I would like to talk more about this to see what's appropriate here to try to keep the process going, even though they force you to tell you what you were making in your last role. Try not to let it just be, oh, X, and let it stop there. All right? Minimum salary, I don't know. It really depends on the value of the position, right? And what can you do? What do we say? Well, I haven't thought much about that. Have you thought a lot about the minimum? You probably haven't. You have a minimum range. You've kind of probably thought about that. He says, well, do you have a budget? What's your range? What do you have? So we don't like to just say, here's the minimum amount. No, that could indicate that they're strapped for cash. Or they don't have anything. Maybe they're trying to lowball us. We don't know what the reason might be. All right, let's move on. I'm going to give this to you. Jeff will send it to you in his email message out with this document. And it's an Excel spreadsheet. And it's kind of a way of looking at offers and monetizing things. And so you got this list of things on the left. Let me see here. Why isn't this moving forward? I give up. PowerPoint, don't do this to me. Well, it doesn't want to move. Let's see. There we go. I made it move there. Yeah, something was stuck. So it just kind of highlights a few things. that you can look at. And you can look at previous job and look at new job. And so how important is time off? How important is vacation? How important is maternity leave? I don't know, whatever things that are important to you in those days and things. And then you prioritize them. I would suggest that you kind of look at what you're looking for, the whole benefit package, what you're looking for in that, so that when the offer comes, because they take 6 months to decide, 3 months to even invite you in, and then they give you 48 hours to accept the offer. All right. Oh, yeah. So be prepared for that in advance. That's just a little. So overqualified. How about overqualified? You might get the overqualified problem. Okay. Yeah. Anybody online saying anything? Why? What are they concerned about overqualified?
I want too much money.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I want too much money.
Yeah. Well, we can be overqualified. All right. I mean, it may be true that we're overqualified, but for a smaller company, they love overqualified people because they want us to wear 6 or 7 different hats and do everything there is to do. Right. So it may not be a negative, but if they ask us, don't you think you're overqualified? Why do you want this lower level position? Their concern is there's a problem with us being overqualified. And so what are some of those problems? Can't keep up. Younger bosses don't accept change. Pay might be affected. You're a fixed mindset, And so there's a risk in long-term plan. I don't want to bring you aboard and spend all the money to get you on board and start like that, and then you leave. So I summarize all that. We're a short timer, meaning we're a high risk. This is the major concern. This is a showstopper question, because if we're a high risk and they think we will leave, they will not hire us. So let's say what our options are.
So why are they so concerned about that when they're laying off faster than they used to?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to get into it, but layoffs end up laying off the higher paid people with the most knowledge in general. And so all that knowledge walks out the door. And so it's pretty difficult for them. Yeah, when you hear about a hiring freeze, look for a job. Oh, we're going to have a hiring freeze. Start looking for a job if you're not looking for one already. So target right. So target a job, that matches you before you target something else that may be lesser. Sometimes we don't have that choice. We get brought in. We're not told a whole lot. Sometimes we don't even have a job description when they start talking to us. All right. But we can say, okay, well, then you agree I'm qualified. So I like to move them from negative towards positive. So, well, you go, duh. Yes, of course. I believe of course I am. Then here's what I hear most often. But I can hit the ground running. I have these knowledge. I have these skills. I can do this. I can do this quickly. I know all of that. That's what I'm concerned about. So all we've done with that response is confirm that we're overqualified. So let's not use that tactic. Let's use something else. All right. So I'm qualified. So the tactic is this. I need to convince you that this is the job that I want. I don't want these. I want this job. And this is where I want to work. I am reducing risk by saying, I've done all these things in the past, but this is my focus. This is my energy. This is my passion. This is why I don't need an alarm clock, as one guy said in the workshop one time. This is it. This is the job that I really, really want to do. And this is the company. What you're doing and what you're serving and how your products are and your services or whatever. I want to be part of that. Okay. That's why. So I'm reducing risk genuinely, honestly. All right. I'm not making this up. This is me. This is why I want this job. I really want it. I can make $250 a year. Now I want this $85,000 job, as I was talking about earlier. So this is it. And since they do have a concern, let's compete with that concern. I'd never accept a position where I'm not fully committed. I am not a short timer, which is their major. Now, there's about 12 other problems with being overqualified. You can be a threat to the manager. One person was asking questions to the hiring manager that the hiring manager could not answer, but should have been able to answer. And so that put him in a pretty sticky spot. And so the interviewer says, can I have your list of questions? Says, you certainly can, right after the day you hire me. But I'm not going to teach you how to be a manager, right? All right. So That can help you with overqualified. So now to the star stories of behavioral interviewing. This is critically big deal in interviews. This is saying that the premise on behavioral interviewing is that past performance predicts future behavior. Okay, this has been around a long time. In the 70s, it's 50 years old. Some companies use BEI as their process and their way and their method for interviewing. Some of the hospitals, I think Texas Health Resources uses that. They send out a piece of paper that says, we're going to ask you questions like this. This is how you answer it. And they go through the process. And I said, why do you do that? It says, because nobody can answer the questions. They don't tell the stories. We can't get anybody to do them. All right. They're based. So there's a document out there. So if you do a search on Alex Rudolph, complete list of behavioral questions, you'll come up with these 53. And then each one has sample questions. And they're kind of written to the interviewing side of here's how you can determine this particular competency by asking these questions. Look at your competencies and say, well, these are the questions that may be asked of me. So that's the purpose of the document. But so do a search on that. You'll find it. It's listed in some schools have it. You'll find it in several places. All right. Here's an example of their leadership. One of the categories of leadership. And so here's a bunch of questions on leadership that they have. I'm not going to let you read them now. You don't have to. So situation, the S. Most people that I hear do not give me their title, which tells me your level of responsibility and authority, where you're a team member, where you're the leader. You don't say this. And so when I was this, okay, that's a significant thing to help me understand where you stand in this process. So that title, I think, is pretty important. Now, company is not that important unless it's a prestigious company. Oh, you work for them? Now, when I was working for EDS, people tried to hire us all the time. There were people that were sent to our development program, and once we went through the training, then they'd go to work for the other company. And so we instituted a $9,000 certificate. You had to sign a $9,000 note to come to work for EDS. And people were signing it. And if you didn't make it through the program, you owed us $9,000. But that stopped that particular problem. Then competition came along, and we had to drop that. All right. So when I was this, the task. What was the task, problem, or challenge? When I was a customer service manager serving colleges and universities, I had a CIO accuse me of bait and switch on a proposal. One sentence is the S and the T. That's where we save our time. We often talk too long. I'm guilty of that. But let's do that S. You can make it very, very brief and very short. Here's what the challenge was. I didn't have to tell you what the challenge was. I said, he accused me of bait and switch on a proposal, on a contract. So now my question to you is, would you like to know what happened? Are you interested? As you piqued your interest, say, well, how'd you handle it? What'd you do about it? Some people say, give the R first. I agree under these conditions. They're not asking us to tell stories. So they ask us about something. Said, well, tell me how you would handle this. Oh, I'll be glad to. Would you like me to tell you about a time when and give a result? Instead of saying, this is what I would do. A lot of people don't tell stories. So I would do this. I would do this. No, I want a specific, you did it. All right. In the interview. So there's a time when I agree with that. I don't really care that much if it does, whether you use the R first or not. But I like to keep the what happened mystique about the story alive. I mean, what'd you really do? I'd really like to know what happened with that. Okay. So action. So what I did was, what did I do first? What did I do second? What did I do third? So what did I do first? I notified my chain of command to my president that I had a university, who copied an email to everybody in the university, including the president, that, and the guy threw me under the bus. That's what he did. But I couldn't go with that tactic. I said, I'm on it. I'm taking care of it. But if you get a call, this is why. And so that you can tell them, I know the person, and they're working on it. We're doing, that's the first thing. Second thing I did was, third thing and fourth, what I went through. Okay. Then I explained that. And that's it. And as a result, what happened? As a result, I sold him $80,000 worth of business 30 days later. Now, there's some things I did. I got together, we met, we talked, and here's how I handled it during the conversation. I didn't blame him for anything. In fact, I just flat ignored how we got there. I said, I don't know how we got here, but if there's any miscommunication, I mean, I sent him an email. I said, if there's anything I've miscommunicated to you, I apologize. I'll be contacting you tomorrow. So I sent something right back, and I copied everybody, that was on it. All right. So what I did was then the result. So as a result, we love dollars, we love numbers, we love percentages, and we love generic values. That's the order of impact. If you can put metrics onto your results, you have to work at it a little bit. A lot of us don't have metrics like sales has metrics. But if you did a process in 10 days that was normally 40 days, okay, that's 20 people, that's 30 days, average salary plus benefit, and I saved $85,000. You can kind of come up with some kind of number to estimate that. Be prepared to show how you came up with that metric if they ask you how you prepared for that, all right? What's so good about star stories? Well, I'm going to go back to critical thinking skills and say, all right, I'm going to demonstrate critical thinking skills. They tell me a story about how I did something. Well, the first thing I did was I was looking at the problem and I said, I really want to know, what is this? What is the problem? Is it the real problem? What are the factors? So I looked at these factors, A, B, and C, that said that might influence that. Then I said, all right, I had to go research here. So here's where I got information, research, here's where I put it together. And I formed a team and we started evaluating that particular data. And then I said, well, are we looking at everything objectively here? Are we looking at the facts? Are we letting anything, just put us in a different perspective here? So we pay attention to looking at those things. And then we had to make some conclusions. So what I did was, and so here's what I did on, I talked to, and said, here's the conclusion. So I had them checked with upper management, whatever it might be. And then I said, all right, I want to make sure that the data I'm looking at is relevant to the problem. And so I had to make sure that I went through the data and picked out the right kind of information. And then I always have a very strong curiosity to keep an open mind and look for things that as I grow. So I am demonstrating critical thinking and never said the words. Okay. But that's what it is. And that's just an example of that. Star stories. Why are they so significant? People love stories. Dale Carnegie phrase says, I remember one time when, said people's attention is going to go up. People are going to listen. They want to hear a story about things. And when you're talking stories, information. So it increases their listening and their hearing the story. Another thing that happens is an identification. So I'm watching Tom Cruise. He's hanging out of a building in Dubai, and I'm scared to death. I don't like heights, even when they're on TV, and I'm in a lazy boy. And so I can kind of go through that process. So they kind of identify with us and go through that process with us. So what does that do for us? When it does that, so empathy becomes, we create some empathy. Then empathy does what? We get an emotional connection with that. And what is an emotional connection? It builds rapport between us. And so what good is that? Well, since we all want to know what happened and we give those results and we tell that story, it's very appropriate. Do you think they remember the numbers? Do you think they remember the tell me about yourself? Do you think they remember your strengths? But they remember the stories. They remember the stories. And so in the story, I don't have to tell my strengths. I can demonstrate my strengths. Yes. Got a question here.
So when we are telling star stories, should we be doing it in sort of a conversational tone rather than just a matter of fact?
What do you think?
I would think, yes, that's
Sure.
what this seems
Sure.
to.
We're
Okay.
just having a discussion here.
Great. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the more we can have a friendly conversation and discussion. Suppose you're at lunch and you're talking about this job. How would it go? Easier?
Yeah.
More conversational, more discussion, talking. Do the same thing. Just forget the food. Okay. Set that tone. Make it talk that way. And you can ask some questions.
Thank you.
They may
And,
say you don't get to ask questions until the end.
Mhm.
So we go by their agenda. Guess what your first question is? How much time do we have? I mean, are we gonna be able to discuss anything? And are we gonna be able to talk about stuff? Or, what good is that gonna be? Okay. good
While I have
question.
the mic, I want to ask this question, get it in. How do you identify metrics if you have difficulty finding those metrics in your?
I have to walk that through with you on a case by case basis, pretty much. But stop and think.
Thank you.
About result A and how that affected something else and how that may have affected something else and how that may have, I ask people, I say, well, what did the CEO say about it? Oh, I got an award. You didn't tell me about the award you got from the CEO as a result? Don't you think that's significant? Okay. And people just, it's too much of just the immediate. Project managers, I can complete the project on time, in budget, and within scope. Okay, great. You and 50 million other project managers do that same thing. I'm not going to make an offer just because you do that. That's what I'm paying you for, right? I want to know what were the project results, all right? Okay, star stories. Now, questions for the interviewer. So we got some questions we want to ask. We will be evaluated by our questions. We would like them to say, you ask good questions. The definition of that is you're finding out what you need to know in order for you to come work here. Just like we are asking you to find out if we want to work you, how you, to hire you. So we want to have some prepared questions. Now the pit crew talks about 10 plus 1 questions prepared in priority order. I would say 10 is a pretty good number of questions, but the question is what do you need to know? What's important to you? And I don't know how many questions that is, but you put them in priority and what's more important for you to find out as you go through this process and where you can ask these questions. Some you're able to interject because it's appropriate to the topic at hand. Oh, I wanted to know more about that particular area. So here's a good question. But like a culture question, so, okay, yeah, tell me this. Describe the CEO. Ask a team. Describe your manager. Tell me about them. Tell me about coworkers, or tell me about how's it going with IT? How's it going with sales? All sales needed for me as a service guy was referenceable clients. That's all they wanted. So every client had to be top of the line, satisfied, top. Now I worked in education for schools, 47 schools in the state of Texas, colleges and universities. They all talk to each other. They all work for each other. They change jobs. They know everybody knows everybody. And anything happened with any service that we gave, everybody else in Texas knew about it too. So they knew about the good stuff as well. And we got calls saying, you did this over there. We might need this over here. Can you help us with that? All right. So we'll be evaluating our questions. I suggest a kind of a mix. 50% regarding the job, the culture, the leadership, specific questions on that. But the other 50% is based on what I have found out through research. So your company CEO in the last earnings announcement saying we need to develop products with a higher margin. Question, what are we doing about that? Notice a little we. Why did he ask that? He's in product development. This is what I do. This is how I can help you. This is what I see. I see a need. You mentioned it. I'd be glad to come help you do that. All right? That would be great. Make sense? Now, there's a document out there you can also look up. Here's a website. You can look up 200 questions candidates may ask. And it's written to the interviewers, and it's kind of broken out into these categories. It's kind of an interesting document. I don't sell all the questions that they're being asked. Every questions list I ever look up, I can find some questions that I can't ever think of a time when I would ask it. I can't think of a scenario where that would be appropriate. But it might help you with something. But it's some interesting things out there that you might look at that. A greatest failure I see in interviewing is not closing the sale. Please, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Let me make an offer. The sales cycle at least has the close part of it. Nobody might know all the sales steps. Brett, you got a question?
I do. One of the roles I was looking for, their company has a interview FAQ on their website, which they do not allow pre-prepared notes, which may be questions you ask. So for people who may have a short memory, myself, any tips on for those questions you're going to ask to try to remember them as you're trying to weave other things in, since you can't have a list with you?
I'm pausing because I don't know the answer and I'm thinking. Anybody got any suggestions while I'm thinking? I would say memorize those suckers and say them every day. When I went to take final exams, when I was taking the MBA, I was in physics and mathematics, and I went into business stuff. That business stuff was easy to learn. But when I got into that, and so I decided in order to make an A on the test, I would know it all. So everything was talked about, I outlined, and my poor wife had to listen to me go walk through the whole outline. And when I went to the test, the only effort I had to make was to try to get it all done in an hour. So I memorized a bunch of stuff, but that's one alternative. Anybody have another alternative? Mike?
I mean, I think the preparation is key. I think the other thing, and it's difficult to do, is remember that an interview is really intended to be a two-way process. So I think during the questions, you have an opportunity to ask for clarification, similar to what they may have done with you. And then questions you need to evaluate fit. So instead of kind of broad culture, ask very specific questions like what's the day-to-day like? How are decisions made? How are resources allocated? What's the boss like? Questions that you would want to know to evaluate, hey, do I really want to work here?
Okay.
Well, hey, Walt.
Yes.
Hey, this is Nikki Wilson. I was going to tell the person who asked that question also, since you can't take any notes in, if you're needing help with, your responses, maybe you can, in your preparation, do some things around association. So for example, if, you're studying your response on conflict, conflict, Connor, maybe Connor is the person who had the conflict. So try to make some correlations and associations that will jog your memory since you don't have notes in front of you, either for the responses or for your questions.
I've thought of another alternative. Ask them, so I understand about bringing notes in. Is it all right if I bring in a list of questions? Just ask and see, because that's not notes really. I mean, to help you respond or anything like that. So you may get permission to do it that way.
And Walt, this is
So
Nikki
ask if it's
Duncan.
okay to take notes during the interview. Up front, you might say, is it okay if I take notes? They may not want you to do that, as well, but I'm impressed with the people who take notes. Anyway, one other question.
Well, this is Nikki Duncan.
Okay. Hi,
I
Nikki.
used to support a franchisee who always had a hard time memorizing stuff and always wanted notes. And when he found himself in a situation where he couldn't have his notes, he actually had a system where he would, as he was going through his notes, at home or whatever to prepare, like you're saying, he would do kind of what Nikki was saying about making a correlation, only he drew pictures and doodled next to the notes. And then as he was studying his notes, he would remember, the picture that he doodled to go with that note. And so it was a correlation of the picture and the doodle and the note. So he might not remember everything, but if he could remember, if something would trigger the picture, he would be like, that one was this.
That's pretty clever, because our brain
I even
pictures.
I even heard of somebody studying for the bar exam that way. He would doodle through legal, his legal lectures, and his professor would talk and he would take notes and he would doodle and take notes and doodle and take notes, and he memorized the doodles with the notes, and that's how he remembered stuff. So for more visual people, that might be a trick.
Thank you, Nikki. Nikki's going to come back and talk to us. She's spoken to us. She's going to come back and talk to us some more. You don't want to miss Nikki. Show interest. Summarize the value I bring. Do a trial close. Update and know the hiring process from start to finish, from initial contact all the way through. Find out how many candidates you're going to do, how many interviews you're going to have, what's the interviewing style, who are the interviewers, when's the decision going to be made, when's the projected start date, who makes the decision. Those are all things about hiring process that we want to know. Now, when we say, I don't know when to contact them back, we're going to ask them that in the next steps. Who will I hear from as a result of this interview? When will I hear from them? How will I hear from them? If I don't hear from them by that date, can I call them with the phone number? It's called taking charge of our job search. Not saying, well, I look forward to hearing from you. No, find out. So I don't know when to contact them back. Ask them. Just ask, say, okay, when can I contact you back? Who do I contact? So maybe it's the recruiter, maybe it's whoever, it doesn't matter who, whoever it might be, to do that. And so when you call them and you find out and you say they don't contact you, so you give them a call, you get their voicemail, whatever it is. You talk about how they enjoyed the interview. Something in it was very interesting to you. You're glad they brought something up. Give the interviewer a compliment in that and say, okay, and if I don't hear from you don't give them more than 48 hours to respond back to you. You don't want your job search to go out another 6 months.
James,
On the
I see
fifth
your,
time, if you don't hear anything, say this is the last time I'm calling you and talking to you. I still want to let you know that I'm really excited about the company and the job. Would love to work there. If you're on the list, they're going to call you.
Walt, we have a hand up. James, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was just curious. I heard from someone, I apologize, I can't remember who it was, but they had mentioned what a question you can ask or might want to ask to an interviewer at the end is say, can I count on your recommendation or something to that effect? Do you recommend asking something to that effect?
That's called the trial close. And there's multiple ways to do that. One way is that as a question? Would you recommend me for the next step is one of the options that you might ask. A team interview. Do you see me fitting into this role? Because teams look at, looks like I'd like to work with you. Looks like you can do the job. That's about all they can recommend. And no, they can't answer anything else. If they really want you, everything's gone well, make them an offer. So, we've talked today about this and we talked about arranging this. I'll tell you what, I'll come to work for you for this amount of money. We get started. So that was done with one person. Everything was top of the line. Everything went very well. So why are you going to look at 3 more candidates when I'm right here in front of you? Surprise the interviewer. Learn later they canceled the rest of the interviews, hired him. Get them off of their process sometimes because here I am, a diamond sitting right here in front of you and you don't want to pick it up. All right, that's pretty strong. The stronger they want you, the stronger we can close. Some people want to put it in a negative fashion. Do you have any concerns? I don't like the negative. I'd say, on a scale of 1 to 10, or can you tell me how would you compare me to the ideal candidate? That's a strong close. What is it? I don't ask to be compared with others because it doesn't mean a thing. I can be better or worse than others. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean I'm going to get an offer. Don't even ask them. But how would you compare me to the top candidate? And so they usually don't answer. But the message is, I want to be the top candidate. I want to be the ideal candidate. I'm not just sitting here answering questions here. I want to come aboard. And I've told you company knowledge. I've told you how I can help you. I've shown you when I say I want to work here, I've demonstrated with my company knowledge throughout the interview. Makes a big difference, okay? And then we bid farewell. So one person had 7 interviews. They don't care about whether they drag us through 7 interviews in a single day. It all fits their schedule, and it's okay if we have to go through it. And even lunch was an interview. So started at 8 o'clock, hour. The last one was with the CEO. She walked into the CEO office and said, "Here, I'm here. I've had interviews today, and I'm here to, to meet you." And he said, "You're hired." She said, "What? You're hired." I said, "Why?" I said, "If you can walk in after the things you've gone through all day today with the energy and the smile and the passion on your face and the way you look and stuff like that, that's all I need to know." So when we have those long interviews, we have to, stick it out, get up, get that energy up, get going, make that last interview like that for, energy and passion still shows throughout the whole day. All right. And make that work. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. Here's my suggestion for how you do some preparation with both your resume and your job description. So you take your resume and you go through each item on the left side, and I'll put this in a matrix form. And so what's my experience? What's the value add? And is there an associated star story? So I can probably fit 1 star story for 6 or 7 requirements or soft skills. You don't have to have 1 per item. You can match it to something, okay, with that. And then I take the job description. So sorry, I want to go back. You take the job description, do the same thing. You should be able to pull a lot of things down from your resume down into the job description, or You're going to find out how much is it a fit. You're also going to find out what the gaps are. Oh, I don't have this. So how are you going to handle that gap? You're going to want to identify those and know. Well, I don't know this CRM system, but another CRM system is not a big deal. I can go to Salesforce, or I can go to, all I have to do is learn navigation because it's all got the same kind of stuff in it, right? All right. So that's a suggestion for you to put that out and put it in a matrix. Now, I'll do this stuff. I'm analytical, all this math and physics stuff I've had in the background. This is this is where it comes into play. We can believe it. And I'm good at balancing the checkbook. Now, here's the whole thing about preparation. Here's a list. I'm not going to go reading through them, but here's a list of content preparation that we can prepare that's generally going to be advantageous to us because it's likely to come up. So you'll get this presentation in a PDF format, and you'll get all these files so that you can look at all this. But you want to practice, okay? Use the pit crew. Come to the workshop. How many times do you need to practice before you get confident and comfortable? It ain't one, all right? So I suggest if you schedule the pit crew, schedule the second one as well as the first one, because there's a queue. Might be 2 months before you get to the second one. Let's go ahead and get it on the schedule. And both for the workshop and for the pit crew. If you get a job, you are excused from coming to the pit crew. You don't have to take the workshop, all right? Questions? That's a QR code that starts an email to me that says I'd like to register for the workshop. Since we don't have time, do we have any irrelevant questions? That usually shuts them down. Go ahead.
I have a comment, and I was hoping I'd be able to share that. Yeah, so, hold on. So there's a video that was recently released on the YouTube channel called "A Life After Layoff" that talks about how the top 1% of candidates interview. That's one I'd highly recommend on the subject of interviewing. And there's also a lot of great videos on that channel about addressing the salary portion of it as well. So highly recommend those.
Okay. Thank you. We'll really run out of time. I'm about 8 minutes over. And I did good to just keep it to 8 minutes.
Yeah. So
Tim.
Yes, sir. So, one of my goals in my next job is I don't want to, be working 70 hours a week. Is there a way to ask a question in the job interview about, how many hours? I mean, is that a wise question to ask, or should I just remain silent?
What's a typical day? What's a typical week?
Okay. All right. Understood.
When you say 40% travel, define 40%. Oh, well, you'll spend 6 months in India and 6 months here. Oh, that's 50%. All right. What does travel mean? Is that 2 days a week? Is that once a month? Ask more details about that. So what's a typical day like? What's a typical work week look like? How many hours a week? When's the last time you had a vacation? Okay.
Yeah, that's always a good question. When was the last vacation you had?
I think that was it Alex or one of you, who asked that?
I don't remember, but I know
I think it was your son that asked it.
maybe. Oh yeah, my son did.
Yeah, it was your son. Yeah, he asked that question. He said, when's your last vacation? He said, I hadn't had one in 8 years. Well, okay. Thank you very much for your attention and for your.
Walt, thank you very much.
Thanks, Walt.
If you have more questions for Walt, come join us at lunch today, and you can ask him at lunch. All right, next Friday, Nikki Duncan will be with us to talk about identifying your brand and your value proposition. Oh, let me turn this off. Here we go. This video will be uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel. Just click on playlist and then pick the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers, and down at the very bottom, click on view full playlist, and I'll put on the list of all the speakers, and you can select anyone you want. Just know that most of the speakers start about 30 minutes into the video. Next week, LinkedIn Tuesday, Terry Sullivan will be with us to talk about how to tell your key contacts and prospects who you are, what you do, and how you can help There will be no recording, so if you want to see Terry, you do need to watch him live next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Next Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting online only. So everybody around the country will be able to watch. They'll usually have 3 different interviews, and you'll be able to select which interview you want to watch that day. And then next Friday, Nick, you'll be with us to talk about identifying your brand and your value. Coming up after that, the first Friday in October, we will do open forum. And then on October 10th, Mike Chapman will be back to talk about 2026 open enrollment updates. He technically cannot talk about some stuff until October 1st, so he will be able to say it all when he's with us on the 10th. Today for lunch, we're going to go to Jason's Deli. How many people think they're going to go so we know how big table to get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So like whoever gets there first, try to get something about 10 people. That'll be great. All right. For everybody else, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you all next week. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Jeff.